All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Illuminate, Navigate, and Radiate a Journey of Emotional Resilience podcast. This will be our first journey segment where we have a guest on and go through their story, some of the challenges they face, how they felt emotionally going through that, and kind of what were some of the things in their life that made a difference and started to change their life a little bit. So today we have Michael Wutzke from Bay City. Michael, you just want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hello, my name is Michael Wutzke. I'm originally from Warren, Michigan, but over the course of time and life, I ended up in Bay City, Michigan, where I currently reside and go to SVSU.
All right, awesome. Well, welcome, Michael. Super excited to have you on here today. So I really wanted to. I connected with Michael a couple years ago now, and after getting to know him a little bit more and understanding, his story and where he comes from, I really wanted him to be the first journey segment on this podcast. I think he has a really amazing story, really great outlook on life. And we just met in we met as in I was going in his classroom and speaking about once a week. But there was a point in that where, what would you say? We just like everybody kind of bonded really strongly in that moment.
Yeah, I think that's when we really started like clicking and actually talking. Because beforehand we
Yeah.
were like quiet, like you would ask us questions and like maybe one of us would raise a hand. But after that, then I feel like we like started actually bonding.
Yeah, that's a good word. It was definitely one of my favorite classes after that moment. So I went in there and there was a sub in there one day and it was a police officer who was subbing and he was talking about dealing with a drug addict. I think a woman with some kids in the car is the story he was going through. And if you remember,
Yep.
I mean, he was a
Yeah, he was quite the character.
So anyway, so he was talking about the story of dealing with this person who was on drugs, and he was kind of going into it and everything, and then we had never met before, so I kind of jumped in. I was like, well, this is my perspective from being that person on drugs and dealing with different situations. And so we kind of started talking about that, and that's when you jumped up, and it got kind of quiet for a minute, and you started sharing, and I remember that first thing you started talking about, and the way you kind of introduced what you were about to say, and you said, now I'm gonna, this is the perspective from the kids in that car,
hmm
and that to me was really powerful because we don't always know what people go through or what they grow up dealing with. And there you were willing to say that in front of your classmates and be vulnerable and open up and share that perspective. And we've gotten to know each other. We rode in a car for a couple hours as you came to speak in front of about 500 people after we
Yep.
had met about your experience. And you told me a lot about your life, and that's why I really wanted you to be the first one that I got to talk to on this podcast, because I just think it's an amazing story of resilience. I always, every interaction I had with you was super positive, really outgoing, funny, could dance pretty well too, if I can remember right.
I appreciate that.
And I just really think you're just like the perfect example of the message we're trying to get out there and showcase, the different types of being resilient and being able to have a positive outlook on life even when you go through something really, really tough.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate being the first guest as well. This is super awesome. I'm happy to be a part of this journey.
Yeah, man, awesome. So if you just want to, kind of jump into it and tell us a little bit about your upbringing and kind of what life was like for you growing up.
All right. Yeah, so I grew up in Warren. I was born in Detroit, grew up in Warren up until I was about 6, 7. My dad lost his job and started doing drugs, and my mom started getting on that as well. And after that, my dad really couldn't keep jobs, so we'd hop from place to place. The first place that we went to was actually our neighbors. Then we came back because my dad was fighting with the neighbors over it was actually a lawnmower dispute, but I'm sure it had to deal something with drugs because come to find out later that was the dude that was doing heroin with my dad. So he had fought with them, hit the dude over the head with a shovel, and we got kicked out, had to move back there. Moved in with my aunt not too long after. Uh, was there for a couple months, fought with my aunt because of some reason. My sister wasn't going to school, I believe, and my aunt was getting on my parents about that, but
Is
my
that a
parents didn't
younger
really.
sister?
Yep, no,
Yep.
no, older, my
Oh,
older
okay, older,
sister.
older. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, she's 24.
Okay.
Yep, yep. She's 24, so she was obviously having difficulties with my parents doing drugs and stuff like that. So she wasn't going to school. She was skipping school, doing stuff like that, doing drugs. Um, so my aunt was trying to tell my parents about it. My parents wouldn't listen, got upset. We left again, went back to the house in Warren. Stuff didn't get any better from there. We usually live without water, food for a while. Um, Sometimes, like, I remember one time vividly, my mom, um, for some reason, we always had difficulties with cars, like we could never keep a car. So there was something with tires, and we went to this tire place, and my mom tried to squeeze out of paying them for tires. Me and my sister were sitting in the car with when she was trying to do this. And me and my sister were like, no, 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 what are you doing? Go back inside. Like you can't do that. And eventually the dude came out and ran to the car, got my mom back inside. She paid. But
So
that
when you when some of this was stuff go when some of this stuff was going on, did you like fully understand what was happening, or were you at that point where you started to figure it out, but you weren't really sure what was going on around you?
no, no, I didn't I say I didn't really know what was going on up until I was like 12, 13. So I
And
was real like
that's when it was like kind of starting to click of noticing a little bit more and understanding of like the situation you were in.
yep, yep, for sure. Cause my mom and my dad got divorced around that time. So uh we actually moved upstate to Beaverton. So this is how I got introduced to the upstate area. I was
Mhm.
in Beaverton for a little while. Then my during um a spring break, I was downstate with my cousins and hanging out, and all of a sudden my aunt and uncle, when me and my cousins were hanging out upstairs, told us to go downstairs, and we heard someone crying, bawling. We didn't know who it was. We thought it might have been our cousin Johnny, but it turned out it was my dad because my dad just got a call from my mom that she wanted a divorce. So all that stuff kind of started to hit, made me realize and like try to dive into like figure out why they were getting a divorce. So kind of just it was a lot, hard to figure out, but
Yeah, and was it? Did it come down, from what you were seeing? Was it like just a lifestyle of both using drugs and not being able to keep a place? And I mean, my experience of using drugs, things are always stressful and always changing, and you don't have any security, and I'm sure that takes a big toll on a relationship.
oh yeah, yeah, most definitely. Yeah, we were struggling with bills and stuff like that for sure. And when I was downstate still, one of I completely glossed over this. It was my bad. It's hit me now. But my dad, he when we were living at one of the neighbors' house, the guy that did heroin with my dad, he did heroin with my dad, and I witnessed my dad overdose. So he did a line downstairs, came upstairs, was all pale, like wobbly and weird, and then he just fell right in front of me and my mom on the bed. And my mom instantly popped up, started calling 911. They apparently said that he died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, but they had luckily revived him. And that kind of like that was another thing that really hit me. And living with like other people, not being in a stable home is one thing. Jumping from place to place.
Yeah, how did you feel with that happening? Like you never really sure where you were going to go next, or maybe even how long you were going to stay somewhere. What were your feelings about that as a kid, just trying to understand, your life changing all the time, or some of the craziness that comes with using drugs. Kind of how did you feel on the inside about what was happening?
I was definitely confused, sad because yeah, I didn't know where we were gonna end up next, if we were gonna have a place to stay, because in between that, it's also my parents talking to me about their problems, so I have to deal with their problems on top of mine. So it's like it's a lot of, I'd say, a lot of sadness for sure, and just confusion. You just don't really know what's going on. You just kind of have to go with the flow with life and see how it goes, figure it out.
Yeah, sadness I think is a powerful word for you to use to reflect and look back at those moments. Did you find any outlets like for those emotions and how you were feeling, or did you keep it all in, or did you have some type of outlet that you were able to get some of that frustration or anger or sadness out?
Typically I just keep it in. I try to push everything I could to the back, but I realize it isn't good because you come to a point where it builds up and you can't hold on to that emotion for forever. So I try to like video games. Video games is sometimes an outlook that I can go to that'll sometimes help, but it isn't 100% all the time, especially during
Yes.
the time because is not having power and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, it becomes a heavier weight the more and more you hold it in.
hmm for sure. I've
So
also
as you
tried to
yeah.
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as you said, you talked about moving upstate and getting a little bit older in your teen years. How did you start viewing that situation then? As your parents were getting a divorce. How did you start feeling as you got a little bit older and started seeing what was happening and realizing, what was happening around you?
I was definitely upset for sure. Uh, Thankfully though, when I talked to my dad about it, like all of the stuff that I felt like they put us through, he was actually able to admit and talk to us about the stuff that he remembers, at least a lot of the stuff that he doesn't remember due to the drug use. And my mom, I still to this day, it's hard to deal with her situation on that because she believes that she didn't do anything wrong. So my dad was easy to figure out. My mom, not so much. She's iffy.
Do you still have a relationship with both of them today?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I still talk to my mom. And my dad. I talked to my mom a little bit just before this interview.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So as you were starting to realize that and understand, like, your life was tough, it was hard as a growing up and not having much control over any of that. um what did that how did that start affecting how you felt about life or the choices you were making or how you felt about yourself?
That's a great question. I definitely have to say, like, I definitely didn't care about my health or anything, really. I was just going with whatever, doing whatever. I wasn't doing any drugs or anything hard, but because seeing what my parents did, I didn't find any real point in doing any hard drugs because I didn't want to end up on the path that they did.
Yeah.
So I really just stuck to myself, but that was an issue because I didn't try to make friends. So kind of just dealt with everything.
Yeah, and as you were, not making friends, obviously not having too much of a stable place of living, um, you have feelings of isolation or loneliness or different feelings like that.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Definitely isolation and loneliness, especially when I first got up here and living in Beaverton, because I didn't know anybody. It was a completely new place. and I was felt like all the friends that I did make before downstate, ones that lived close to me, they were gone. I couldn't talk to them really. I mean, I could talk to them. I had a phone, but I couldn't see them. I had no way to get down there really, hang out. So it was tough. But after I made some friends there, which was nice. But then again, me moving, so that's a problem. It's hard to keep friends when you move so much.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. And you you said it was tough to keep those relationships. Um, so how did you kind of feel as you would move away and lose friends or start to fade away from friends? Like, did that loneliness get worse? What were some of the feelings or challenges you had because of those feelings?
Yeah, it definitely got worse, and because of that, it made making friends and everything worse because I felt like in the end, I wouldn't be making friends because I'm gonna be moving. So what's the point? So anybody that tried to be friends with me, I really would try to push them away.
Yeah, I could understand that.
And that was the main thing, making friends, trying to talk to people, making relationships. I feel like that was a big thing that I missed out on
Mm.
because of the things that were going on in my childhood. I could have definitely dealt with it better, but I had no other outlook at the time.
Yeah, no other outlook. So, what was your outlook on life during this period?
Uh, Life sucks, and that's how it's always gonna be. And I'm gonna be stuck in this situation, moving place to place forever.
That's a that's such a tough mindset to be in. No, I know I've been there at various points of my life of just thinking, everything around me sucks. I feel like shit. I feel like nothing's ever gonna get better. And it just makes it so hard to like keep pushing through and moving through each day when you're feeling like that all the time.
Hmm. For sure. It's definitely a difficult feeling.
What did that push you further away from even trying, or did that put you in any dark places? Like, what did that kind of do to the way you carried yourself or the way you felt about yourself?
Uh, yeah, no, it's a good question. I didn't, I didn't really care about myself. Like I said, I just kind of went with the flow with life. I didn't really think about what would happen to me. I'm a very like, I care about everybody else person, and I'm still like
Mhm.
that to this day.
Yeah,
So I like, in the end, I don't care what happens to me as long as everybody else pops out okay and they're doing all right.
yeah. So and when you say that, being sad and lonely and isolated, when I met you, that definitely was not the way I would have described you. You were very positive, outgoing. You were break dancing in front of a classroom of students of your peers, which is something I would have never had the courage to do growing up and in high school. So where did that kind of turn for you? What was a moment, if you can identify one, or a time in your life where your outlook, your perspective, your attitude, where did that maybe start to change for you?
I'd have to say I was about 16, 15, 16. So yeah, I was sophomore high school. I was living with my aunt and uncle at the time after situations with my parents. So I was back downstate living in where is it? trying to think. St. Clair. I was out living in St. Clair. And it wasn't the worst. It was great. I loved my aunt and uncle. I just everything that was going on with my parents and everything, I felt like my mom didn't really care for me. Neither did my dad. So I was really sad, and I made the stupid choice to decide to take my own life by taking all of my antidepressants in one sitting.
Mm.
Like that'd be a good idea. But after I did that, like halfway through most of the bottle in my mouth, I spit most of it out because I realized, what am I doing? This is stupid. Because if I do die here, one, my aunt and or my uncle is gonna find me, and they have to deal with that. And then two, the rest of my family is gonna have to deal with that. And that's just it's an ever going cycle that will keep going. And I don't want that to keep going. So that really really changed my mind on everything. See the more the importance.
Yeah, that's a oh man, it's hard to hear, when somebody's in that moment of, they're at that point where this feels like the only choice, right? Like when you get to that moment of that being your way out, it's always heartbreaking for me to hear, especially coming from younger people. Um, and it sounds like, being at that moment, and then, luckily, whatever in you stopped you and had you spit those out and everything. Um, After that moment, where did you, start to see some changes in your life, or how did you start to try to change, maybe either your situation or at least your perspective on your situation?
Yeah, talking to my uncle and stuff more about my feelings and how I'm
Mm.
feeling, because he definitely made it because when I first moved in there, it was difficult for all of us. I mean, I just moved in, so I mean, we talked, but we didn't have deep conversations about anything. But my uncle Matt made it more well known that I could have deep conversations with him, let him know all the things that are going on with me. Same with my aunt and my cousin, and that like we don't have to deal with this alone. Like you got people that are here to help you.
Yeah, and I think that's so powerful. Coming from a young man, having that outlet, because sometimes we're told, we got to keep our feelings in, um, or boys don't cry, or, or whatever it may be growing up.
Mhm.
And so it makes harder to kind of express those emotions. So I think that's just, that's such a positive thing that you just said, being able to share with your uncle and be able to get those feelings out, and maybe even be able to relate to people around you once you realize that, like, other people share maybe parts of your story, or at least maybe parts of those feelings that you were at. That sharing can be such a positive tool, um, to help you feel not so crazy, or not so alone, or not so isolated at times.
Mhm. For sure.
And I remember, in that class, this was the really cool part to me. After you shared your story, just about, everybody else, and there was a small group that day, right? Like only about 7 or 8 of you were there.
Yep.
Um, and I think just about everybody in that class shared how their life in some way had either been, a challenge or a struggle. So a lot of it was related to, alcohol or substance abuse. Um, but it made a class of, so many different kids, just like all understand, like, oh man, we all do have something in common here.
Mhm. Yeah, it was really awesome to see everybody from different perspectives and different points of life because there was definitely people there that had no idea what it was like to deal with a parent with drug issues or know anybody that has anybody that dealt with drug issues or dealt with mental health issues or
Yeah.
etc. But that way we're able to speak, communicate stories, let everybody know that they're not alone, that there is similarities, differences, but we can all come together and realize that.
Yeah, and I think that drives so much hope, right? And that gives you hope, like when you see other people that have struggled, or can relate to you in some way, and you see them doing well or thriving, or having some confidence. It gives you that hope that, okay, maybe I can grow into that as well. Maybe I can have that in my life, because they've struggled too, um, and they're having that positive change, right? They're radiating that positive energy out, and that just gives so much hope when we can see that in other people.
Hmm. Most definitely. Yeah, uh, I can't speak. My bad.
It's all right. It's all right. You're good.
I don't even know where I was going with that.
Oh, that's all right. So I want to ask you, what are some of your outlooks on life right now? Because again, a big reason why I wanted you to be the first conversation on here is because when I think about you, I think about a young man who really has every right to just be pissed off all the time, to be angry, to be frustrated, like, hearing your story now a couple different times and what you've gone through. Um, that gives you every right to be angry about life. And yet, when I met you in that group and we started bonding, you really are just like a, a perfect example of positive energy. You're caring, you're empathetic, you're outgoing, you're funny. Um,
I
you know,
appreciate that, man.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. It is such an awesome thing to see. So, what are some things that what are some of your outlooks or perspectives or attitudes now that that people see that change in you, people see that light in you, as you carry yourself?
hmm Yeah, I just the main thing that keeps me going is really I don't wanna. I love my parents, but all the things that happened, I realize I don't want to be back in that situation. I don't ever want to be back in that situation, nowhere close. So that's something that fuels me to keep going. And getting like I said, talking to you, getting your perspective on things, it really opened my eyes on things as well. And talking to other people and their different perspectives on lives and the things that they've gone through, their challenges. It makes me realize that, I'm not alone and that everything in the end will be okay. Because if you can make it, they can make it, I can make it.
No, I love that. I love that what you just said there at the end. If you can make it, they can make it, I can make it. That's awesome. It's a good flow right there with those words. um Yeah, I mean that's it's such an awesome thing to see. You grow into that person and a young man, and um, I definitely want to ask you. Uh, did you ever see yourself speaking in front of about 500 people and a lot of business people and that type of thing?
No, no, definitely not. That was something crazy. I don't even have the words for it. It was awesome doing it though. And I
Yeah,
really appreciate the offer. You
and
taking
that
me to
was
do that, it was so awesome.
yeah, and you were a junior in high school when you gave that talk, right, or that speech?
Yep.
Yeah, that I mean that's from the struggles you've been through to go and do something like that. Again, that's just I have so much respect for you, and to be able to see that and see that change and see like, oh man, people can go through some of the hardest things, but they can bring some of the best attitudes and perspectives into life, and that gives me hope, that gives me happiness to see that in you, and getting to know you over these last couple of years.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. It's been awesome knowing you. It's been a journey. It's been great. I'm honestly one of the greatest people I've ever met, truly, dude. You're
uh,
so honest. You're one with life. It's so cool.
yeah, I
The
mean,
conversations that we've had, it's so nice to be able to talk to somebody and get to know somebody on a deeper level.
yeah, and I appreciate that. That means a lot. Means a lot coming from you and anybody I've ever interacted with. So thanks, Michael. I really appreciate that.
Of course.
Yeah, man. So again, I always enjoy talking to you. I'm glad we've gotten to connect a little bit more again. Is there anything else that you want to add or share, that message of hope and resilience that you've shown through your life? Anything you want to kind of share? Just ending here.
Uh, I say if anything's on your mind, talk about it. Don't let those feelings get you down. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. You got to keep pushing through the darkness to hit the light. And you can't stop. You got to keep going.
I love it, man. I love your energy. You know, I wish. I mean, could we get a breakdance performance before you get off? Is that possible? Can you show your
I
skills off to the world real quick?
don't know if I have any, man, but I could try.
All right. I think you
It's
might
been
have
so
to.
long.
I think you might have to
Can
go back to your like open the app back up.
you see me?
I looks like it's frozen right now. It's
Uh-oh.
or your camera's off.
My camera shouldn't be off. What the crap? There we go. Is it working? Oh, I dropped you.
Yeah, sorry, I can't. It's just a black screen right now. Actually, I can't even see
Oh, no. I'm guessing it's gotta be the internet. What the crap?
it. That's all right. Maybe we'll have to get you back on just so you can show off those skills that you have, man.
I'm down for another episode. That'd be awesome.
Definitely. Well, thanks again, Michael, for coming on and sharing your story and being vulnerable to who's ever going to see this. I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to those feelings and that struggle. Being a young man and talking through your feelings and sharing, those dark moments you were in, I think is just tremendous. I think we need more of that, honestly, and more people willing to say like, yeah, life life is hard. I've struggled. I've been at that point where I wanted to give up, and then just like you did in your life, changing that perspective, working hard every day. I'm sure not every day is great, but I'm sure you find different ways to get through those days.
Yeah. Yeah, no, every day isn't easy, but yeah, you just find ways to get through it. Talking to people, if anything's on your mind, if anything's bothering me, I'll talk to somebody. If it's too bad, if I can't deal with it on my own, playing video games, like I said. Or as recently, I actually just started doing laser engraving. So,
Ah, nice. Finding different hobbies then, right?
yep, that's definitely an output. Trying to find different hobbies. Anything to really keep your mind busy.
Oh, I hear
Because
you there.
if you think about it, it's just all the thoughts, all those bad thoughts is just your brain lying to you. Stupid things that aren't real. They're just false ideas.
Mm. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more with that last part. Well, again, Michael, thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been Illuminate, Navigate, and Radiate, a journey to emotional resilience. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.
Bye.